After always hearing about toxic mother in laws, I finally had an unexpected encounter with one myself. And the chaos she created was too much for me to comprehend. The only good part was that it all came to light before the wedding, and boy, I am having second thoughts on whether I should go with this marriage. So, this is about my in laws, my mother in law to be specific. And if this is her behavior before marriage, it all started with my relationship with my fiance. We've been together for 8 years, and yes, as you guys can guess, it's a high school romance. I'll be honest, I'm very old school, and I had always dreamt of having an old school romance. But within 2 to 3 years, I could feel the relationship falling apart. However, our history always made me fix situations and go back to him. There were several issues, starting from communication gaps to misunderstandings, but I always hoped that things would work out. And after that, it became long distance, causing fewer arguments because of very little communication. Once my boyfriend was back from the city he was staying in, he proposed and I accepted. I wasn't completely sure about anything, but he proposed to me publicly at a party, and I didn't have any other option than to say yes. I love him and have always wanted to settle down with him. The issues in our equation were never ending, but I had hoped to put an end to them until I met his mother. A little background here. My fiance is very rich. They have their own family business, and everyone in his family, specifically the women, was either a homemaker or working in the family business. He would always joke about this, saying how I should stop worrying about my career because in the end, I'd be working in their family business itself if I wanted to work. I would always try explaining that I had different plans, but this topic would just get pushed under the carpet. Day by day, this was becoming a problem, but due to the lack of any conversation on this, I figured that this would just get sorted like the plenty of other issues we have. But that wasn't the case at all. He had told his parents that I was okay with quitting my job after marriage. That too, without even asking me. And he didn't even inform me about this. Now, my in laws had decided to throw a lavish welcome party where they invited all our friends and family. It was like a mini engagement party with almost everyone who mattered. Everything was going smoothly except for my mother in law's occasional comments on not sitting in a particular way or not saying certain things. She was kind of controlling, although she behaved sweetly. She had a set of values that she wanted me to inherit as her future daughter in law and behave in a certain way. With every passing minute, my tolerance level was reaching its saturation, and I kept on telling myself that it'd all get sorted. At that point, I already knew that things were going to fall apart anyway. I just didn't know it had happened this soon. So, mid party, my mother in law gets up and announces that her son, my fiance, is to be promoted. And as everyone is clapping, she follows her announcement with another about me joining their company. I was utterly shocked and looked at my family's faces, who were shocked as well. My mother in law continued saying that as a sign of commitment, I will be quitting my job and starting at their company at a junior level, after which they will promote me based on my performance. And add to that, I will be family. With so many guests all around, I didn't know what to do. But one thing was clear. This gave me major flashbacks of the way I was being proposed to, and I wasn't having any of that anymore. Announcing such big things in front of a crowd would make one feel so uncomfortable and pressurized into accepting it. So I stepped up and told her in front of everyone that she was mistaken, and my loyalties lied elsewhere, at my job. She narrowed her eyes and just said that it was not the time for jokes. So I stood up and went to the stage and said out loud on the mic that I was never quitting my job and I wanted to marry her son, not her company. She was furious and indirectly asked her son by gesturing, to get me off the stage. Looking at him and listening to her made me realize how he was in on this all along. It was obvious because how else would my mother in law get the confidence to announce something like this? So, of course, my fiance heard what his mom said and tried to rush me off. I was so mad at all of them, but I didn't want to continue the mess they had created, so I didn't say anything further in front of the guests. But it was not over, and I was frustrated. The air was super tense, and everybody in the room could feel that, including the guests. I was just stepping down from the stage to avoid any more chaos, but what my mother in law said next was enough for me. Even after I made it so clear that I was not joining their business instead of shutting up, she continued to say that I was just joking, and it was nothing like that. So I did something nobody expected. I stormed off. My parents and friends followed me, all except my fiance, who I believe was trying to calm his mom down. My dad was furious as well and asked if I knew anything about these things. I clarified that I did not know, and that no matter what anybody says, I'll never quit my job. I had spent years getting to this position, and I was not giving it up for marriage. This was not about choosing a career over love or any of that. I was not choosing anything. Marriage means a lot of compromises, but that should be done on both sides, and it was crystal clear that I was the only one who was supposed to compromise here. Instead of understanding my past struggles and encouraging me to do better at my career, these people wanted me to leave everything that I had worked so hard for to start from base for something that was not even earned by me. So I was done. I just asked my dad to take me back home. At that point, I lacked the energy to have even one more conversation about this. I don't know what to do now. Update 1. It's been just 3 days and the situation is only worsening. I had the worst conversation ever with my fiance. Instead of trying to understand me even once, he blamed me for ruining that evening and disrespecting his mom in front of everybody. I understand that the way I stormed off was not very classy of me, but one had to also see where I was standing. If I did not speak up for myself, it would just be official that I was quitting my job, and I did not want that impression to stay. But my fiance did not want to hear a single word from me. He demanded that I apologize to his mom, and that was not even the worst part. This man wanted me to take back all my words and quit my job. He was crystal clear in his words. He demanded that I choose between my career and my marriage. And I could not believe that this was the same guy I loved and chose to spend the rest of my life with. I straight away told him that I was never going to quit my job, and he could not convince me to do it. To this, he started yelling and said that I was a selfish woman and I would make a horrible wife because I did not know anything about understanding and respecting one's partner. I was so mad at this point that I was not even thinking before saying stuff, so I said that I might be a horrible wife, but it would be better than being his wife. Saying this, I shut the door in his face. Update 2. The news of our wedding being called off has been spreading like wildfire. It is frustrating to see that people have so much interest in others' affairs. I'm so tired of all the calls and messages that I'm getting filled with sympathy. I simply spoke up for myself and my rights, and I did not want people to think otherwise. My mom suggested that I could move out and transfer to a different branch in the meantime to avoid all these people and the stress that came with it. I was even considering that for a couple of days, but I decided otherwise. Why would I be the one to leave when it was not even my fault? So I have decided to face everybody fearlessly. I am glad to see all the comments from you guys. Update 3. It's been a month. I'm writing this after so long, but that is because I was really upset and did not want to talk to anybody. All of this has taken a toll on my mental health. I still don't feel like talking to people, so I am avoiding everyone, but it feels okay to type here and let you all know about my situation. It feels like my fiance does not even care about what had happened. He was living his life amazingly until yesterday because now he's going to work under me. And that is enough for him to get an ego bruise. Yeah. So his company recently merged with another company, and that other company was taking all the big decisions for now. And my company was a client for this other big company, and guess who is supposed to be the head of the project? That's right, it's me. Karma is real and beautiful and so satisfying. It was initially hard for me to think that I will have to deal with him again, but I am simply looking at this as revenge. This was not my fault, so I would not be the one to stay away in my room while he enjoys his life. I will look him dead in the eyes and direct him to do stuff. He is the one who should feel guilty for doing what he did to me. My relationship was very important to me, but my opinions were never too important to him. And if there is no respect in a relationship, there is nothing. NTA, and you go, girl. This was a major save for you, and although it will hurt for some time, you will realize soon that your life is going to be so much better. NTA, and I think that you would never be happy in that family. Even if you put on your job or decided to do things there, people like these will always have a problem with you. They will find something or the other. You will find an amazing man and have a great career. Please do not settle for less, ever. You go, queen. Next story. I, 42, male, have 6 siblings, and this is about our youngest, 32, male. My other siblings are also older than me, the oldest being 49. We lost our dad to brain cancer when my brother was 13. This devastated him and left really deep scars. He was really unstable at middle plus high school, and mom was also severely depressed. And none of us were living in our hometown, so we couldn't handle everything as we should. But he managed to enter into one of the best universities in our country. After he got into the university, he started to be in the relationships with older guys. He was in the same city with me at this time, so I had the chance to have an eye on him. He wasn't in any bodily or academic harm, but all of this messed him up really badly mentally, and he was a mess until he met with Liam 11 years ago, 53, male. He was a widower. He lost his husband at 2010. And my brother fell in love with him instantly. He took him under his wing, protected him, and nurtured him. I was also suspicious of their relationship first, but as time passed, I saw the realness, the authenticity, the loyalty, the love. My brother was happy, but the other family members never approved this relationship, accused Liam of being a predator, so he got C and D orders for harassment, and I was the only one with my family. My 4-year-old was a flower girl. In their wedding in 2018, other than our mother, who had dementia at that time, and we lost her the next year, I also cut my siblings out of our lives after our mom's funeral. At the beginning of 2021, we learned my brother had cancer, the same one with our father. He was early diagnosed and had the surgery, but it returned 18 months later and spread fast. Chemo didn't work, and at Christmas Eve, he gave his final breath while we were there. My brother asked for his funeral to be organized as we see fit and said, "Please don't do anything that will make you uncomfortable for anyone." We didn't invite our siblings. Liam's family and my in laws were there, but no one from my family was invited. They learned my brother's death after his death was announced at our hometown Facebook page. My siblings were mad and they tried to reach Liam via his lawyer, but they couldn't, so they reached out to me. I told them they deserved this after all they did, and they should be glad we are not charging them with harassment with the heat of the moment, but after time passed, I felt really guilty about saying this. AITA? Some info. My family has live from many syndrome genes. My brother was the only sibling who had it, but other than me, each one of them is carrier. I have the info of one of my nephews who also has this syndrome, and they go to the annual screening. If your family has a history of multiple cancers in one generation, please talk with your doctor. My mom's family is like royalty in my hometown, so my brother's death was announced on Facebook page. Before my mother died, she asked us to make multiple donations from her inheritance on behalf of my brothers and our grandkids' names so that their names also can live forever. He's seen as one of the biggest donors in our town, and he also helped our town in multiple ways. Also, to the people assuming age gaps are always predatory as my siblings, please frick off. Multiple people have written about age gap relationships to me and told similar stories to me, saying that they were left alone and didn't have the means to move out from their houses if it was abusive at some point. Liam had to get C and D orders because he works as a pediatrician. Being a pediatrician is always hard, but if you are not straight and have multiple people accusing you of fake abuse allegations and posting on everything, this is a thing you have to do. My siblings also tried to go to the legal services, but most of them laughed at their faces. Even our family lawyer opted out of their services to them after mom's death, and he only works for me and Liam now. Luckily, Liam's patients never gave a damn about this, and some of his patients' parents even offered free legal services. But he got his own. And yes, this is the ethical thing I know. Inheritance might be a thing if we look in retrospect because mom left everything to me, Liam, and the grandkids that she had. She made trust funds for the kids, and unless we have 40s ish grandkids, everyone can get a safety net from her. But my other siblings never got anything from her. Me and my brother both inherited multiple real estate from her, and she said she did this because we don't have our other siblings and live alone in another city. So I might need to dig this deeper. An update 18 days later. So, hi, 72 hours after the phone call, they tried to pester me into Liam's office, but luckily the staff was warned and they had taken care of it before I was there. The police station was another shit show. They accused me of being a groomer to my own kids because I let my brother and Liam get married with such an age gap. They said we were robbers because we had stolen their inheritance from mom and brother, and they even accused Liam of really weird fetishes while they were giving testimonies. They were so bizarre that all of them were sent to a psych evaluation. Me and Liam both got restraining orders against them, and all of the communication will go through the family lawyer. I last heard the oldest was still at the involuntary hold in hospital. We read my brother's will yesterday, and everything he owns was divided in half between Liam and my kids. He left me $70,000 for the emergency fund, but he made his accountant create really huge trust funds for my kids. Unless a disaster happens, my kids are set for life, thanks to my little brother. Liam has moved into our house. We actually dragged him, but this is a nicer way to say it. Liam doesn't have a huge family. He lost his parents when he was in his 30s. He only has second-degree cousins, and they all live at least 400 kilometers away from our town. His job is here, and my kids begged so hard, so he decided to stay here, and we opened our house. Our kids love Uncle Liam, and having him in our space made a really huge difference for him. When he is with our kids, he smiles most of the time, and the kids love Uncle Liam. He's currently taking a 4-month break from his clinic to go to intensive therapy twice a week. And he has lots of parents of his patients sending their thoughts and prayers, bringing stuff to his clinic. Even the lady, one of her patients' grandmas, made homemade baklava for him. His appetite is kind of okay for the last 5 days, so it is a win. My wife and my own in-laws are actually saints in this process, and they are helping me a lot. I think, unless dead, I won't be in the same place with my siblings, and even maybe with my nieces and nephews until they turn 18. My kids most probably will never know their uncles and aunts. This is hard to reel in, and I miss them, but I will be okay. The oldest nephew is actually 20 and works in the same city where we live, so he gives us updates about the family. They also know I am a safe harbor for most of the time with my wife. I sent them a letter via my lawyer telling them everything I thought about them. I'm not sure they will take it seriously, but maybe it helps them reflect on their own behavior. I also sent this post link to them. Maybe it will make them understand what they did was wrong. Maybe in the far future we can have a civil relationship without the need for ROs and lawyers. Thanks for tuning in. Now I'm tuning out. NTA, I don't really approve of what would have been a 42-year-old dating a 21-year-old, but that isn't the point here. It seems like your other siblings, who are all 10 plus years older than your youngest brother, had no meaningful relationship with him whatsoever. The funeral is more about the people grieving, and that would be Liam and you, from what it sounds like. You can handle the funeral however you want. If they feel the need to attend a funeral, there is nothing stopping them from having one together. Reaching out to Liam's attorneys sounds pretty out there. Were they hoping for some money? I don't know, this is hard. It seems like your brother was entering very predatory relationships to fill the void of your father. It cannot be overlooked that your brother's husband could have been his father, and by your description of him, very much treated your brother like a son, whom he was also sleeping with. That is a hard thing for any family to deal with. If your brother didn't want him there, then they shouldn't have been there, but you seem very harsh towards your family, that by your account only wanted your brother to be happy in healthy, age appropriate relationships. Your brother didn't sound stable enough to find, want, or navigate those relationships, and you sound a little harsh to your family, who simply didn't want your brother's youth, fragile nature, and desire for a father exploited. Next story. I, 24, female, recently got a corporate job at a very prestigious company. I worked very hard to get where I am now, and I'm very proud of myself, to be honest. My boyfriend of 3 years, I'll name him James, 28, male, is my boss. Let's call her Nora, 36, female. Cousin. He has a completely different line of work. I haven't seen Nora outside of work much, even at work. I don't see her a lot because she is at the very top of the hierarchy, and I don't have a lot of work that directly needs her attention. But everyone agrees that she is an awesome boss. That changed when James's uncle, Nora's dad, invited the whole family, including James and I, over to his house for dinner. Notably, James doesn't like Nora for reasons I don't understand. Obviously, Nora, her wife, and the kids were there as well. She didn't make a big deal out of being my boss, and I felt super comfortable in the family environment. Everyone was initially very sweet. Over dinner, James's dad asked me how hard Nora was on us at the company. He said he'd heard about how she made everyone work overtime and was horrible to be around. Nora is exactly the opposite of that. I don't have a lot of experience, but she is the kindest, most inspiring boss one could wish for. She works double all of her employees and never makes anyone feel like they're being taken advantage of. She appreciates everyone's efforts, and that's why everyone at work is actually happy to work overtime and help her with stuff. I told James's dad exactly all this. He didn't like the answer, but I could tell Nora and her wife were loving it. I added that despite not having a lot of experience, I was more than happy to work in the same company as Nora did. The conversation ended there. I thought that was the end of the story. On the way back, James asked me what the actual frick was going on because I totally humiliated his dad in front of the whole family. He said his dad liked teasing Nora and it wasn't personal and I should have just avoided the question and ignored that. I said I honestly don't get how I humiliated him. James hasn't talked to me ever since and thinks I owe his dad an apology. I asked my colleagues, and they all agreed that it was absolutely ridiculous to criticize Nora as a boss like that in the first place. James and his family clearly disagree. AITA? Both your boyfriend and his dad are morons for thinking that you would trash talk your boss while in her presence, even if she wasn't the great boss, which she luckily is. The dad did that to himself, and unless your boyfriend can come up with a sincere apology for you and face his mistake, you should probably consider taking a step back from this relationship. Good for you for not playing along and staying true. It's time to demand some integrity from your boyfriend. NTA. James's dad is rude by trying to coax others to criticize Nora. The apple, James, doesn't seem to fall far from the a-hole tree either. James and his family can disagree all they want. You're neither a mind reader nor someone who should do others' bidding for their amusement. NTA. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.